Ready? Yeah? Alright, fantastic. So guys, today I'm going to explain to you from the minute I left Cardiff City to when I first had my pro contract. It's a bit of a journey, so get locked in, guys. I was at Cardiff City from the age of 12 all the way up to 18s. I'm going to quickly explain how I ended up signing for Cardiff. I was playing for a local team called AFC Romney Juniors. This is like a Saturday league team, you know, it's grassroots as we call it back in England. So it's the first level of football, it's very amateurish. And I got basically scouted by Cardiff City, Bristol City and Bristol Rovers when I was 11 years old, or 10 years old, something like that. Bristol City actually offered me to go and sign with them straight away, but because it's Cardiff and Bristol, it's a bit of a journey, my dad said, no, we don't want him to go there. So I ended up going to Cardiff City instead, but I didn't go to the academy, I went straight into the coaching centre. So let's look at this way, you have A, B and C. A is the academy, B is the development, C is the coaching centre. So C is, you can only imagine. So I went to the coaching centre, I was there for about maybe 2 weeks, too easy, sorry. Then I went straight into the development where it was a little bit harder. I remember I was there for literally 1 month. I think I went twice. And then I had a letter and I didn't even understand what the academy was. I was given a letter, I was like, yeah, congratulations, you're gonna go to the academy. So I thought, back then, I was thinking, right, so we've been invited to go and visit the academy. I don't know what the academy is. So my dad told me, he was like, son, you've been selected to go and play for the academy. That's the highest standard of football here in England. It still didn't enter me. I couldn't decipher it. I went into the academy and it was a whole different ball game. Honestly, different ball game. I mean, the training facilities, the games, the training, the intensity. I ended up signing a 4-year contract, so I went from under 12s to under 16s. And then from under 16s, I was then offered a scholarship, which is basically like a semi-pro contract. I get offered that. And then at the end of under 18 season, I remember the last 2 months before we get offered a pro contract or we get told our decisions, I was told some good stuff. I was told, yeah, you know, you're on track, you're doing really well, this and that. I remember we even played a game against the under 21s where Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, he was the manager at Cardiff City back then. I remember we played and I scored both goals and he came to me, he was like, well done son, well done son. And so my teammates, they turned around, they were like, yeah, you're signing a pro contract, you're signing, you're getting yourself a deal. So of course I was excited, I was really happy. Unfortunately guys, one of the saddest moments of my life was when I was invited into the office. It was actually the Cardiff City Stadium in one of the offices. And I was told that I'm not gonna sign a new contract with them. Obviously I was devastated. So I'm literally sitting here and I've got Dick Bates, God rest his soul, and I've got Kevin Nicholson, one of the best coaches I've ever had. And they sat there and they told me, yeah, we're not gonna offer you a pro contract with this football club. And you can only imagine how disappointed I was. You can only imagine how humiliated I felt, knowing that I was at Cardiff since I was 11 years old up until 18. The entire city of Cardiff, the Congolese community, the black community, they knew that, yes, Yora Enzam, he's one of the first Congolese people to go and play for the academy at Cardiff City. What did I do? So because of the humiliation, because of the sadness, because of the heartbreak, I ended up leaving Cardiff. I left the entire city because I didn't want to show my face anymore. If Instagram was there back then, I would have gone incognito. I would have taken my profile picture off and showed people that I was sad, because this is what happens. You know, you're inside this bubble of professionalism and sort of like greatness. Everyone looks up to you. Everyone wants to be in your position. I left and I went to Birmingham. I ended up staying there. Next thing you know, when I was in Birmingham, I remember my dad gave me a phone call and he told me he'd been offered a 2-year deal in Canada. I was like, Canada? What's that? You can only imagine going from Cardiff City, and we were actually playing in the Premier League back then. 2013-14 season. And next thing you know, I get released, boom, get myself a deal in Canada. So I had to fly to Canada within the next 3-4 days. I remember it wasn't a straight deal. I had to do a trial first. So I'm thinking, wait, I just flew across the continent to Canada for a trial. Do they know who I am? And I even trained with the reserves. It wasn't even with the first team. So you have the first team training on this side of the pitch and you have the reserves were on this side of the pitch, and all the coaches and all the staff members were there. So hello, 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 hello. They told me you're gonna train with reserves. I was literally like this. I was like, okay, no problem. So I thought, you know what? Let me roll my sleeves up. Let me show these guys who your ends on is. Within 30 minutes, I was going told to train with the first team. Train with the first team, and at the end of the session, the president of the team, he called me in and he said, come into the office tomorrow. I said, okay, no problem. Went to the office the next day. He told me to go in around 12, so about midday, because we used to train in the evening. Crazy. That was actually the first time me experiencing not training during the day, but training at night. Very weird, because not everyone was a pro. Some players were on a part-time contract and some were professionals, because some of them came from high-end MLS or the USL. I was offered a professional contract for the first time, and you can only imagine how excited and how happy I was. I remember the contract, it was there, and it said professional contract. I was like, wow, this is what I've always dreamt of. So then I can go on Twitter and I can put professional footballer. The team was called York Region Shooters. This was in the Canadian Premier League back in 2014. I signed a 2-year deal. That's where everything started for me. Not gonna lie to you, it was really difficult. It was difficult because just to break into the team, I went in and I was on the bench the entire time. We ended up winning the season, the league unbeaten. I remember I went back to the accommodation and I was like, I need an agent. What do I do? What is an agent? How do agents actually work? So I went online, I went on FIFA.com and I looked at agents, registered agents in Canada. And I was looking at African names or a black name. And I found an agent with an African name. So I contacted him straight away. I gave him a phone call. And he said, yeah, let's meet up. When we met up, I explained my situation. He was like, okay, I'm gonna take care of you. You don't have to pay me anything, but we'll see what we can do. I was like, fantastic. I went to his place, we had a good conversation, and he told me, you need to leave this club. I said, okay, no problem. He's taking me to the MLS. So I ended up going to Montreal Impact. The club didn't know. I was there for about 2-3 weeks. I was trialing with the reserve team. And the training, the facilities were unbelievable. I remember there was a striker there called Marco Di Vaio. For the guys that know football, you'll know who the striker is. When he left, that's when Didier Drogba came in. But I didn't get to meet Drogba. I went into Montreal Impact, I was training with the reserves and some of the first team players as well. And I knew that I was going to sign because I was doing extremely well. You know those training sessions where everything is one touch, two touch, you're moving around, you're talking, you're leading the session, you're organizing, you're enthusiastic, you're working hard. That's what I was like. And I remember there was a man called, I don't think I can mention their names, but it was one of the technical directors of the club. He came down to training and he was like, yeah, you know, you're doing really well. We're going to let you know tomorrow how things are going. We're going to basically give you a decision tomorrow. I was like, okay, no problem. And the craziest thing, they actually put me in a hotel, Sheraton Hotel, right in the downtown of Montreal. I remember getting picked up every single morning going to training. I felt like a superstar. That's the level that I believe that this is what I should be. Not living in some... Anyway, that's a story for another day. So in the morning, I went to training. I remember before that, I spoke to my dad. I called him, I was like, Dad, today I'm gonna get my decision. I hope it all goes well. And he's basically asking me, so what do you think? I said, to be honest, I see myself signing. Everything was going well. You know, I was there for literally 2 weeks. The training, it wasn't, I'm not gonna say it was easy, I'm not gonna say it was hard, but it was enjoyable. It was back at Cardiff City again. I went to train. I remember we were doing sort of like attack v defense. We finished the training session, and then the technical director came to me. He came all the way to the pitch, and I was like, oh my God, the director is here. That means I'm signing a 7-year deal with 150k a month. I was so happy. Anyway, it wasn't to be. He stood there, he was like this. He's like, so we've got a bit of an issue. We're not going to be able to sign you because of the administration, and you know how it goes, and you have to go speak to your agent, but yeah, we're not gonna be able to sign you. So sorry about you, such a good player, blah 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 blah. I kid you not, guys. I felt like crying. When I got released at Cardiff City, right, I didn't even feel like crying. Of course I was upset, I was heartbroken. But shit happens. But this one really broke my heart. It genuinely broke my heart because I was like, where do I go? What do I do now? Am I gonna call my dad and tell him that I've not signed the deal again? What am I gonna do? Who do I call? What do I tell my agent? But then something told me that my agent was behind this. He must have asked for money, extra bit of cash, maybe. But something really dodgy happened. My work permit in Canada was only for football. Soccer, as they call it over there. So I couldn't even go and find a job. And what's crazy on top of that is that my club that I signed with first, they terminated my deal because they found out somehow. Football's a very small world. They found out that I was at Montreal Impact, and it's a very weird, it was a very sketchy thing. But because I was so naive and I didn't understand what happens off the pitch, I was like, you know what, whatever. So this is the end of 2014. So we're getting into 2015 now. And my whole life went from hero to zero very, very quickly. My life was an absolute mess. I needed to find a job, but before finding a job, I needed to go live with my agent because I had some accommodation problems. I went from Montreal back to Toronto. And that whole sort of journey, that period was absolute hell for me. So early 2015, I ended up calling Cardiff City and I told them that the season in Canada is finished. Can I come in and just train with you guys? They're like, yeah, sure, no problem. So I went back to Cardiff and I ended up training with them. I was training with Cardiff City and I was training with Newport County as well. I remember at Cardiff City there was Craig Bellamy, who was the under-18s manager. So I was training with the 18s again. The standards were very high. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. And the players were asking me, yeah, how's Canada, how's this, how's that? I was like, yeah, you know, it's all right. The season's finished now and I'm going to go back in March, start pre-season with my new team, which I was. And at the same time, I was also training with Newport County. I remember I went to train with Newport County, again with the under-18s. And the academy manager, he offered me a deal. He offered me to sign with them. So I called my agent and I told him, yeah, so these guys are offering me a contract. He said, no, don't sign there. You're going to come back to Canada and I'm going to send you to a better team. Me being me, what did I do? I said, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not going to sign. I'm training with Cardiff City again. I remember I was doing a training session with Craig Bellamy, a shooting session, one-to-one session after our big session. And I ended up pulling my hamstring. Don't know how, but I pulled it. No, I didn't pull it, I tore my hamstring. So that pulled me back at least a month. Yeah, about a month, about 6 weeks. So I couldn't play, I couldn't train. So what happened after that, guys? I had to fly back to Canada. I flew back to Canada and I wasn't 100% fit. I had no club, I had no home, but I was with my agent. My agent basically told me, I'm going to get you into the lower leagues here. You're going to go and train there. You're going to go focus there for at least a month whilst I'm negotiating a new deal for you. The team was called Woodbridge Strikers. Woodbridge Strikers. We did clash a lot because of my attitude and my ego. I was so angry with my situation. So when I'm training, I'm not training at the highest level possible. So I ended up playing with their reserve team. And it was just horrible, guys. It was horrible. My entire situation off the pitch, because of my mentality was linked with my reality was horrible. I couldn't perform on the pitch. My agent got back to me and he told me, yeah, so I'm going to send you to Jacksonville Armada. This is in the NASL, the North American Soccer League. He told me 2 weeks before. I had a game with Woodbridge Strikers. I played. I had a very, very good game because I knew, yes, in about 10 days, I'm flying to America. And I got injured. It was a horrible, nasty injury. I remember the guy, he literally went in studs up and he done my ankle. Absolutely obliterated it. Still ended up going on trial to Jacksonville, and within the first 10 seconds of the warm-up, no one touched me. I just rolled my ankle and I did tape it up. I rolled it and that was the end of me. The club ended up calling my agent, said yeah, he got injured. They were like, he's like, what? How did he get injured? So my agent calls me and he's screaming at me, how are you getting injured? Da, 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 da. My head was gone, guys. At 19 years old, my head was gone. I was like, there's no way my life is real. To go back to Canada, I remember he told me, as soon as I touched down in his home, he said, holiday is over, now I'm gonna make your life a living hell. I was like, wait, what? I'm laughing now, but obviously back then it was really, really sad. I was really disappointed. So as soon as I went back to my agent's place, I knew that there were so many things I couldn't win him over with. Because I remember there were situations where I couldn't even shower anymore. He was telling me that your shower time is only 2 minutes. You go in, you throw water on your body, you turn off the water, you put soap all over your body, then you rinse yourself, then you get out. So it got to that stage, guys, and then I just couldn't handle it anymore. I didn't even tell my parents. My mental health was literally horrible. I remember crying almost every night. Just crying, saying to God, why? What's happening to me? I've gone from Cardiff City to almost signing a Montreal Impact. I'm a professional footballer. But am I? I'm not. I wasn't a professional footballer anymore. Status-wise, yes. But on the pitch, no, I wasn't. I really, really struggled with eating, with sleeping, my anxiety, my confidence. And I had no big brother to look up to. My dad didn't know anything. I didn't want to tell him anything because I thought if I tell him, he's going to think I'm a failure. I wanted to make my family proud. I really wanted to take my family out of sort of poverty and give them a good life. I didn't want to look like a failure. I didn't want my dad to look at me and say, my son has failed me, because I used to look my dad in the eyes and I used to see the disappointment. I used to see the heartbreak in him because of the sacrifices he made. You know, he would be working double shifts, night shifts. My mom would be working. My mom have no license, but she would be taking me to training. She'll be taking me to games. There'll be no money, but they'll have to buy me boots because I didn't understand. So they had to buy me boots, good boots. And this is the sacrifice that parents make, African parents make. And you know, you gotta appreciate your parents. And I know some players are struggling with the support of their parents. So it was difficult. It was a really difficult period for me. Anyway, I decided to come back to the UK, and that was the end of it. I went to university in 2016. This is towards the end of 2016, so September time, went to university. And before I turned 21, I called it a day. I said, I'm not going to play football anymore, that's it. So that was literally the end of my short career, guys. That's the truth, that's my truth. It was difficult, and I don't want people to make the same mistakes that I did, especially when it comes to agents. You gotta do your due diligence. You gotta understand who you're dealing with. You gotta understand yourself as well. And you gotta persevere. I was very weak mentally. I had to do was just play football, but I didn't understand everything about life. As an 18-year-old, what you can understand. Now the position I'm in is about helping these guys go from nothing to something. And we're gonna make it happen. You're gonna see on this channel, guys. It's been fantastic. Share with your families, share with your friends, share the people that you know and you love. Thank you, guys. See you next time.